that we often have, that we are hitting a brick wall, feeling that you're hitting a brick wall. And I'm going to talk about the excessive exertion of energy we often find ourselves in when we feel that what we are doing is not working. I'm also talking about related to that, and the tendency to spread ourselves too thin, and what it means to have new energy injected in what we are doing. And finally, I'll talk about balance, the balance of rhythm, the balance of activities, the balance that is achieved by focus. First of all, I'll talk about a common problem that we may face in our ventures, in what we are trying to do, especially as emerging entrepreneurs, as people who are not yet famous, not yet super rich, not yet super successful. We are doing a lot of things, and whatever we do, it seems it's not achieving the outcomes that we want. We are hitting a wall, we are hitting a barricade. We do this, we think it's going to yield the kind of result we want, but somehow it just does not, and it keeps repeating. We go in this direction, it's like someone is blocking us, someone is blocking us here, someone is blocking us here. And in many cases, it now begins to affect our psyche. We begin to feel like failures. We feel like failures because everything seems to be hindered, right? For those who are spiritual, we feel like maybe this requires some prayer and fasting. But if we have been around long enough, we find out that sometimes even when you do the prayer and fasting, it doesn't seem to solve the problem completely. So in essence, we experience that consistent roadblock. But part of the problem is that we may be focused on the wrong thing. We are seeing roadblocks in the areas of our effort, but we fail to see the progress in other areas, in some interesting areas of our lives where things are actually happening. But that's not where we want things to happen. So we tend to be focused on the areas where it appears there's a consistent brick wall, and that's a problem. So it's a normal feeling that you want to break into new frontiers, and somehow you are consistently hitting a brick wall. But the reason that seems to be amplified in your mind is because you have failed to be conscious of other areas of your life where things are actually moving, because that is where you need to amplify the outcome. You need to amplify the output in the areas where things are working, because the premise of the conversation is that you are not in control of all the outcomes. You are in control of the effort, you are partly in control of the output, but you are not in control of the outcomes because of the external factors that are at play. So the second thing I'm talking about is things like exerting excessive energy. When we begin to hit this brick wall, we now begin to feel like we need to inject more energy ourselves. We need to put more effort. We need to do more. And the more we do, the more frustrated we get. The more we do, the more tired we get. We get we are constrained. Our energy is being sapped, and we're just not moving the way we think we should. So we do this, we do that, we try this, we try that, and it's just like we are wasting energy. Sometimes wasting money, sometimes wasting time. And a typical example is too much marketing. And if you're on social media and you try to push your product, or you've gone out there to push your product, you find out that you're exerting a lot of energy, you're wasting a lot of money, and people are getting tired of seeing your face. And you see the diminishing return setting. At first, everybody is, wow, you're online, great, keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. Then when you keep showing up thinking that you will convert those leads into actual customers, what happens is your energy starts depleting. And when your energy starts depleting to the point that it affects your psychology, even how you show up is affected. And people begin to notice that your energy has dropped. People begin to notice that you're no longer as confident as you were before. People begin to notice that the quality of what you're delivering is being diluted by the quantity. Too much. So excessive stuff you're doing, excessive energy, and you get to the point where you start even trying other things aside from what you were originally focused on. You said, look, I am selling shoes, and every day I come out and say, buy my shoes, and you now begin to think that, oh, this shoes thing is not working. I'm going to diversify. And sometimes diversification gets too wide. And when it's too wide, you're spreading yourself too thin, because the depth of quality you could have injected into your shoes, you dilute it by trying to say, I'm going to now sell some clothes, sell some underwear, sell some, lingerie, sell some shirts, and begin to spread yourself too thin. You now become like every other person trying to sell something out there. You see, when the market is crowded, competition is tough, and differentiation is a challenge. Competition is tough when the market is too crowded. When you're too crowded, whether the market is an actual entrepreneur's market, or that place is in terms of your career, you're trying something, it's not working, you say, okay, I'm going to learn today, I'm a DBA, I'm going to learn cybersecurity, I'm going to learn infrastructure, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to just give myself many opportunities. You find out that the depth that you could have acquired in one or two areas, you now spread it so thin that you become like every other common person looking for a job out there. In other words, you are spreading yourself too thin, right? You are exerting too much energy, spreading yourself too thin, and you get to a point where you tire out because you keep hitting that brick wall. Now, in many cases, doing more can create more value. Doing more can create more visibility, if you like. Doing more, because you need to work harder, right, can create better outputs. But there is a threshold. There is a point at which you get that what you now need is no longer more energy from yourself. What you need is the external injection, or the injection of new energy from an external party. The injection of new energy from an external party. What that might look like the injection of capital from external sources. It might look like the injection of new social networks, which means you need to meet certain new people beyond the people you already know in order to repeat what you have been doing, but to a new audience. You just need to repeat what you've been doing to a new audience in order to get the outcomes that are desirable. Maybe what you need is alternate routes. The same shoes you've been selling, but you've been trying to sell it online, it's not working for you. You're hitting that brick wall, and what you really need is another route, another channel to your customers. Maybe you need to really step out of your house and go to where people have gathered to get those things sold. In other words, you have hit the brick wall. You find yourself at the limits in terms of the energy you are injecting into your effort. You find that you're spreading yourself too thin by trying so many things, and what you now need is what? New energy. You need new capital, you need new networks, you need alternate routes. You need to step back and stop and reflect on possible alternatives, possible ways in which to navigate in such a way that you are pushing it in a fresh, taking a fresh look at it, because you know that you've hit the limits of your own effort. You've hit the limits and you've spread yourself. Maybe you need to reorient it and say, okay, no, my problem is not selling more products. My problem might be to stop selling one product and ask myself, what are the top 3 products that are actually working? My problem is not taking more courses, but I need to ask myself, what top 3 skills do I have that I can really amplify to create the kind of outcomes that I want? So there's this balance of rhythm, there's this balance of activities, there's this balance of focus, that it's a very dicey thing to juggle, to say, how often do I need to come online to establish a rhythm without exerting myself too much, without being too much in the faces of people? How much do I need to be online? How much do I need to sell? How much do I need to market? How much do I need to bother people in order to establish a reasonable level of rhythm that does not exert too much, exhaust me too much? At the same time, I find it to be what? Effective. I find it to be effective. It's something we gain by by trying, by thinking through, by experimenting to see what rhythm. And I do find that you establish your rhythm in a manner that is most comfortable for you, in a manner that is most comfortable for you. What does comfortable mean? You need to capitalize on your strengths. If, for example, you are not comfortable being on video, you will get tired quicker than otherwise, right? If your strength is writing and you easily put out words, easily put out notes, and that is your mechanism for making your product known. If you can easily do that, it's easier to get a rhythm, consistent rhythm, a weekly rhythm for long enough than to stretch yourself to do something that is out of your league, and then you get tired too soon and it all stops and fades away. You need to achieve a balance of rhythm, not too much, not too little, and focus in the area of your strength. You need to also achieve a balance in terms of the stretch of your activities. Selling this, selling that, selling this, selling that. And many people are not sure what you need to be called upon for, what exact thing you are an expert at. You want to isolate that. You want to try as much as possible to niche, to go towards that niche. That does not mean you will not sell other things in the background. That just means you have your flagship. You have a flagship product. You have the dominant things that you are doing, that you have really honed expertise in, that are that set, that 80% of your effort are focused on that 20%. Remember the Pareto principle. Focus on that 20% that will deliver the right value for you. And that brings us to focus. Now, if you are able to create this balance and stay long enough in the space, likely you will be noticed before you get tired. You will be noticed by that person, that external person that needs to inject energy. It could be that person that will give you the next contract. It could be that person that says, I like what you're doing, I would like to invest in it. It could be that person that I need to introduce you to this person or that person to help you move to the next stage. Otherwise, you find that if you are exerting energy, hitting a brick wall, spreading yourself too thin, you tire out too soon. If you tire out too soon, the opportunity you will not meet, the opportunity for the injection of external energy. I hope this makes sense. I do want you to ask questions in your context. Remember, in the club, one of the things we say is, look, if you are able to capitalize on the one-on-ones, I think you will do better. Capitalize on interaction for us to really dig into your space and reflect on what you're doing in sufficient detail for us to be able to add enough significant value to what you're doing. We are like an external board for you. We don't know your business as much as you do, but we can help you think through it using frameworks that we are trained in. Now, I also want to talk about those frameworks. Now, if you are a graduate, you probably spent maybe 4 or 5 years in school studying things that you never used in your life till this point. If you've been around for 10 years after school, you probably notice that maybe 90% of what you studied in school, you're not using it. But a lot of it is working in your subconscious, in the way you approach life. The same way, when you come to the strategy club, a lot of stuff seems abstract. It seems, theoretical, but consume the knowledge. Then we can focus in more on the areas that are most relevant to your context now. Some of it will be relevant later. Don't be a short-term thinker. Don't be narrow in your mind. Expand your mind with knowledge in this area of strategy, and then begin to identify ways in which to translate the theory to practice. That is why we have the one-on-ones. That is why we'll have the monthly sessions, one of which is coming up this Sunday, 8th of June. Let's talk. Let's have an interaction. Let's discuss these matters, and let's connect deeper into what they mean for you. So I hope this has made sense, and I do want you, if you're not on the strategy club already, be there. Let's connect, let's discuss, stay committed, stay focused, be strategic. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.